So I'm going to tell you about all the ways that I've, in my 10 years, lost a lot of money. Because the interesting thing is, angels don't want to talk about that. And you hear about all this money that's raised by all these venture capitalists and these IPOs and these really, really big monies, but nobody ever talked about, like, on that journey, how much they lose. The reason I'm here is to actually talk about how I have lost a shit ton of money investing in amazing people, founders, amazing companies, people that are really hard driven. So I'm going to share a bit of my lessons learned about how to lose some money. So how many people here have heard of angel investing and watched Shark Tank? Okay, if you haven't, okay, kind of the same. So I've lost a shit ton of money. For those who don't know, an angel investor is somebody who invests their personal money into a private enterprise. So somebody that has a startup, somebody like Ace, thank you for sitting in the front row so I could call you out. I didn't invest in him. But somebody that takes their personal money and invests in a startup, right? Basically trying to help somebody who has this amazing idea. They need the funding. So how do you help them? You have to be an accredited investor, and often you can do it directly, or you can join a group, or you could join a club. And in a club, somebody else is making the investment decisions, but if you do it personally or with a club, it's really your personal choice. And so I am an angel investor. A lot of people ask me, like, well, Jen, like, how the heck did you get into that? So I'm going to give a little background, and then I'll tell you about the lesson. So I had an amazing career at Capital One. I left in October, been there for about 18 years, and one of the amazing things about my career is I worked in the small business division. And what I learned there is I loved working for a really big company to help the little guy screw the big guy. And I was like, that's amazing. And so I just did that with my job, and I loved it so much. And so it really just became one of my passions. So a few things happened, 2008 specifically. I got married. The day that we landed from our honeymoon, Lehman collapsed. I found out in December that we were expecting. I found out in March that I was laid off. And in June, a friend of mine said, hey, I'm starting an angel group. Would you like to join me? So unemployed and pregnant with a new husband, I said, shit, why not? Because what I realized, kind of connecting and what I had seen, is that how critical small businesses are in startups, right? Innovation, entrepreneurship, I don't want to invest in another Facebook or Google. I want to help companies that are in Richmond, Virginia. This is my town. I did not grow up here, but this is my place. And so how I can actually, I didn't know that I could be an angel investor. And so when the guys asked me, I was like, really? This is not okay, that sounds amazing. I'd love to be able to do that. And so it was just this amazing opportunity for me to realize that I could try to have an impact on our local community versus the Facebooks of the world and all those other things. But it is not for the faint of heart. I have been an angel investor now for about 10 years. I'm sorry, I forgot my clicking. This is when Lehman collapsed. That's good. I'm going to keep fucking this up. This is good. I want to use the word a lot, right? So I'm going to tell you about all the ways that I've, in my 10 years, lost a lot of money. Because the interesting thing is, angels don't want to talk about that. And you hear about all this money that's raised by all these venture capitalists and these IPOs and these really, really big monies, but nobody ever talked about, on that journey, how much they lose. I'm not going to tell you how much I've lost. Let's just say my kids probably, when they get older, realize their college tuition might not be paid. They might realize. So, but let me talk a little bit about what I've learned or how I've really messed up as I've done that. My first big mistake, postpartum investing. I'm not kidding. Literally, the guys asked me to join this angel group. After I had my daughter, I went to this meeting, and I swear this woman was pitching. She had this kids' meals. I wasn't a working mom at the time. I was like, oh my gosh, I totally relate with this. It's emotional. I was so emotionally connected to this investment. I was like, I'm in. I led the due diligence. I raised $185,000 for her. And I thought it was amazing. And I still think it's an amazing idea because it still exists. That was 10 years ago. The big lesson that I learned there as an impulsive, emotional person is that I have to slow down because I didn't realize how hard it was to get food into Target, into Kroger, into all these places. She had her manufacturing in California. She's in DC. And so there's a lot that I learned there of like, wow, like slow down. Like you might totally get it and you think it's going to be the most amazing thing in the world. But the next thing you know, 10 years later, your money is still with that business. The whole point of angel investing is being able to get it out. And not just get it out, you're taking a huge risk on these people. And ultimately, you would really, really like for it to be something a lot bigger. And so with this particular one, I sat on her board for a while. I've lent her more money, which is a big mistake. But she's raised more money, and she's had a Kickstarter campaign, and she's doing fine. But my money's still there. So I don't know if I lost it or not, but that's one investment that's out there. I have another investment that I did, which was a consulting firm that's not me time, right? I'm already messing up enough. But there's a consulting firm that I invested in that was around right when Pinterest was coming out. They were the experts. They thought that they had explicit access to this data. I was like, oh my gosh, they totally get Pinterest. I love Pinterest. It's like, I'm going to do that. They have access. But what I didn't realize is consulting firms, they actually did not have exclusive access to that data, and they still exist. And that was 10 years ago. And so exit strategies. The reason I put the zombie is because you have to know if you're going to invest in somebody, you want to know how are they going to exit. You hope that they get bought. If they get an IPO, that's really what you're looking for. And early on, I was naive. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Something amazing is going to happen. But with consulting firms, if they don't have a huge team or a huge client base or a product to sell, it's going to be really hard for you to get your money back. And I have an amazing media company out of Texas. There's some people that were in Northern Virginia as well that was a Hispanic media company. They tried so hard. They tried so hard to keep on pivoting. We talked about pivoting. They literally pivoted so many times that they were underwater. They owed more money than anything that they had on the books. And finally, they came and said, so you can kill zombies. And to be honest, like back to James's points, like I really wish, like you've got at some point, because there's a lot of people involved and as an investor, like sometimes I don't want to give up, sometimes I do, but like that's your choice still. I'm not in control. But you're going to get close. But let me tell you, this is the fuck up this is the message you don't want to get. Because I can memorize this one. This is the message you don't want to get as an investor. So one of the investments I made was with a group, and this is an email I got from the group. In recent months, the founder has completely been unresponsive to written and telephonic messages requesting updated information on the progress, status, and prospects for the company. Multiple web searches have yielded no information that the company continues to operate or even exist. Via social media, we have discovered that the founder has taken a full job elsewhere. So my impulsiveness, this lesson for me is really about investing in people that I know versus investing in strangers. Because if I can't connect with them, I can't hear about their challenges. I mean, I've got an amazing network, probably not for every company, but for certain companies, I have a really good one. And the fact that nobody in our group or anybody else had invested in them, nope, they didn't talk to anybody. That to me was just amazing. So, but anyway, I've had a lot of those. I think I've had at least 5. That was the only one that literally disappeared. I was trying to find it a building that disappeared on a driveway somewhere, but it did not work. So just closed. I don't know where they went. They disappear. And that happens with angels. But the whole point of an angel investment is that you hope that this amazing founder, you give them, let's say, $10,000. And they come back and they say, oh my gosh, I just sold for 10 times that. So when I was getting ready for this presentation, actually, one of the guys that was part of my angel group emailed me. He's like, oh my gosh, Jen. Like, this is so great you're doing this. Don't forget to tell them about your 10 times exit. And I said, yeah, Mike, I didn't invest in that one. I fucked up. It was literally number 10 out of my investments. And I thought I was too smart. It was a cloud-based infrastructure company, technology. They thought it was amazing. And I was like, I work for Capital One. I see that kind of stuff all the time. And I realized how biased I was. Like, now I realize I am very biased. And that's the really sad thing about it, being an investor. And that's probably my biggest F-up, is that I don't always recognize my own biases. But that's because the road to hell is paved with great intentions. And I'm trying, and it's amazing. And anyway, so it's interesting when you talk about biases, though. There's one time I went to a random angel meeting. And basically, if you're an accredited investor, you can get invited to these meetings to hear companies pitch. And so I went to this one particular pitch. And it was awesome. The group had really pulled together a really diverse set of people. It was awesome. And there was an African-American woman who had presented some education software. And I was like, oh, it's interesting. And what happens is, after all the founders pitch, they leave, the investors stay in the room. And so I'm staying there, we're sitting in the room, obviously, with my glass of wine, which I should have right now, but I don't. And as we were sitting there, I was like, it's kind of interesting. And as each of the investors kind of gave their point of view, one of them said, I've invested in a woman like that, African-American, she has a startup, whatever. She's like, and none of them have ever been successful. So I would never invest in someone like her. I was the only female in the room. So I turned to that guy, and I was like, you fucking said that out loud? At least you did. And it's fucking biased. And we all have biases. So the scary thing is, as the only woman in that room, do you realize that 60% of women have all the wealth in the United States? And most of them, when they do their investments, they do it in public companies. 50% of all publicly traded companies are owned by women. But when it comes to these private investments, the women investing, there's only 10%. Only 10% of the people in the room in these startups are women. I'm not that fucked up, or somebody else has. But it's amazing to me, because then when you look at it, and you realize that 40% of businesses in 2018 are owned by women. 40% of all businesses are owned by women. But there's actually a research, particularly when you look at startups. There was a company, a really fantastic incubator up in Boston, who discovered that all their female founders, relative to their male peers, their revenues over 5 years was at least 10% higher. But in general, when female founders go to raise money, in 2016, of all the money, not necessarily angels, but in venture capital, 2.2% went to women. That, my friends, is fucked up.
Have you ever failed in a project, career, or business? Whether you have or not, you can become a Fuckup Nights organizer in your city, company, or university. Learn how at fuckupnights.com. Join the movement. Fuck up the system.